we try to be sure that we remind our members that this is an outreach ministry of First Presbyterian Church, and we start each meeting with a short word of prayer. So if you would bow your heads for a word of prayer. Disturb us, Lord, when we are too well pleased with ourselves, when our dreams have come true because we have dreamed too little, when we arrive safely because we have sailed too close to the shore. Disturb us, Lord, when with the abundance of things we possess, we have lost our thirst for the waters of life, having fallen in love with life. We have ceased to dream of eternity, and in our efforts to build a new earth, we have allowed our vision of the new heaven to dim. Disturb us, Lord, to dare more boldly, to venture on wilder seas, when storms will show your majesty. We are losing sight of land. We shall find stars. We ask you to push back the horizons of our hopes and to push into the future in strength, courage, hope, and love. Amen.
Sir Francis Drake, 1577.
Woo woo.
You checking it out?
Yeah, I've heard that before, buddy. Thank you for reminding me of that one.
Just remember, got it.
Okay, we got a pretty good crowd today. Let's see. Anybody got any? We've been talking to John DeEnglert. He has not been on ever for Zoom, but he used to be a regular attendee at our in-person meetings. So I think he's a visiting guest, if I understood it correctly.
That is right. No, I'm
Good.
happily employed, and I've always wanted to come back and just say hello and do this from a remote perspective, and hopefully we can get back together in live sessions and have an appreciation for the great work you guys do.
Well, we're optimistic on that also.
Yeah.
Good. So everything's going well with you then, is that right?
Yes. Thank you. I'm also here to test Mr. Claypool. Last time I saw him, he was struggling with his flip phone and trying to manage technology, and I'm just very happy to see him doing video, oh my God, on the computer and all the other good stuff associated with coming up to speed. So
John, I just want to, I'm going to say something before the rest of the group does here. I'm still struggling. I get a lot of help from this group as far as things that I should do with technology, and sometimes just getting on in the morning is a struggle.
Yeah, we usually have to tell him to plug in his speaker, turn on his mic.
But I appreciate your comment, John. That was very nice of you, because I'm still struggling.
He's actually considering going and applying for a position at GTCC as an instructor in Zoom technology.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
He reminds me of what the is it progressive or commercial on TV? Don't be like your parents or whatever.
Right,
Yeah, we have children that don't even, they're into technology, and so
his son comes over and helps him every week probably.
He does, Jan, you're right.
Is this house finished, by the way, Jim?
Pardon?
Is this house finished? Your son,
Did he
Burlington,
finish?
is this house complete?
Oh, yeah, he did.
Is
John.
it completed? Is it-
It's all completed,
Good. Speak.
along with the pool.
Okay, good. Really good.
Yeah, he's swimming. He still swims.
Could guess that. Okay, Hugh, anything going on with you? Anything exciting?
Yes, actually, before I fill you in on my progress, I'd like to say I remember I used to work with a gentleman in New York in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004. I was working for the state of New York, and with this gentleman, he was running the entire program. At the time, email was, just about coming out. Of course, everybody had a computer on their desk, cell phone and everything. And this guy, he had no computer on his desk, no cell phone with his flip phone. And this guy was running everyone around his fingers with all this technology that we had. So believe me, I think I don't think the technology helps you do things better, but they don't do the things for you. So anyway, so just wanted to in support of Jeff. That's what I wanted to say. But yes, last Friday, I had an interview with one of the team members with JLL. Actually, it didn't work. It doesn't work on the account that I would be working on. I had an interview with him, and that lasted an hour. We had a great talk. He works in New York City. And I'm scheduled tomorrow morning, actually, to have an interview with the client representative who runs the IBM account for them in the Triangle, 8:30. So hopefully it'll be the last person that I will be talking with. And after that, I'm scheduled to have a talk with the guy actually with JLL on the account. So it's moving forward, but nothing yet on paper. That's what I have. Thank you.
Sounds like some progress.
Okay, Mark, anything going on in your neck of the woods?
A little bit of traction. I had or last week, I had my final interviews with a pharmaceutical company, and I'm hoping to hear back from them. It was a week Wednesday, in the finance area. I had the first round with Thermo Fisher on a senior business manager level position. And I know that there's a request for me to talk with the hiring manager based on his schedule. And one thing that's a little peculiar is I talk with him first, and then the last round is a panel interview. So I would think it'd go the other way around, but so that's looking promising.
As Jeff has told us in the past, if you have a panel interview, be sure and look at every person in the panel.
Gotcha.
Do not avoid anyone, because you may avoid the wrong person.
Okay. Okay.
Very, very true.
Yeah. And I can, I can see, some of the folks that I think it might be on the panel looking at my profile and wanting to connect.
Oh, good.
So that sounds good. One thing that happened yesterday too with the logistics company was I was in the first round interview basically with the recruiter, and it looked like and I know Jeff, you talked about this, the salary range for this job was just too far out of bounds. So, I'm still looking for maybe a manager position on up. I know I'm early. I consider to be pretty early in my search, a whole month of February. So it's been, 6 weeks now. So we decided not to go further, but we kept the door open with, she was saying that there's going to be some manager roles opening them up pretty soon, and just to watch out. So I didn't really know how to handle that because, I try to give a range again, but I think it was the best thing to do. I felt like, well, maybe I should have just lowered it or something like that, but I didn't. So, so lessons learned there a little bit. We got an email from Randy Crisp on quality oil opportunities, and I understand that management team's changed a little bit. I was kind of intrigued about that. Might research that a little further as a company in Greensboro. That wasn't on my list before.
As a matter of information, Mark, we connected, or she sent us an email yesterday. A lady named Kim Bean was a former member of Triad Career Network. She is working now for Pfizer.
Really?
In this area. I don't remember exactly. Jeff, you unmute yourself. And do you remember what Kim, bottom left? There you go. Do you remember what it seemed like to me? It was not sales per se, but it was something following. I don't know if it was following Triad. I don't remember exactly what it's been 2 or 3 years ago now. But anyway, her son was responding to a post that we had sent. Or she was responding for her son about a post. Anyway, she is still working for Pfizer. So if you need a connection or anything like that, you just let us know. We'll be glad to forward you her information. And she was very good. She was very active and was true believer, and she would be glad to help you wherever she could. She was a great lady, and as well as a very active member of the group.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be great contact. So yeah, by all means, that will be great to look into that as well. So, if I had anything else, let's see. I had a contact, and I've submitted a bunch of applications, but there's one at Amazon in Kernersville that looks really good. It's a good fit. I think would be pretty cool as well from that company. So I'm hanging in there, and using all y'all's tools, and I feel real good about my process. It's just a matter of still pacing the house and trying to want to get back into the swing, but hopefully something will break soon.
Okay, well, good. Well, it's getting to be warmer now. A lot of people want to, if you get job search, go out and work in the yard. Don't do that.
Okay, that's right.
Do some of it, but anyway. All right, well, good. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Hello, Lisa. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Fine. Your state is open now, so I guess everybody's happy.
Yeah, next week the mask mandates go away. So yeah, it's been interesting. A lot of different thoughts around that, but it's interesting because people don't read the details of what the governor sent out. They just listen to what the media says, and within the details, he's just not saying, "Oh, we're going back to the way things were before." He's being responsible about it, but giving other people decisions to be able to get back to working and opening their businesses and things. So it's interesting.
Good. Well, good luck. Anything going on
Thank
with you?
Not a lot. I had an interview yesterday. It was I interviewed with Amazon, but it's for a contract role. So we'll see where that goes with a third-party consulting company. I did see a couple positions late yesterday. And do you guys have any connections with anybody that work at Zoom? I saw a really good manager for client enablement at Zoom, but I don't have I'm going to do some research and see who my connections are that might have some, but I just thought I'd check. Wow.
I have 4 connections at Zoom: account exec, and sales leader.
The sales leader would be good, Teddy, because
go look at LinkedIn. Go look at David.
Okay.
David Chung, David Chung. And after you review his profile, if you think he's someone you want to talk to, send me an email and say, Teddy, I'll say hi to David. Would you introduce me? And I'll try to do it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm right now just trying to focus on looking at my target companies again a little bit more, and then adding a few additional examples to my, you know, as I went through some of the documents that you guys sent out, just refining some of my stories with a few more details around the jobs that I'm really more interested in. Because I know the one that I just came in second in last week, she just said the lady or the person they hired over me had a little bit more detail, I guess, in their examples that aligned specifically with what they were trying to do. So I'm just trying to go back and look at my, you know, some of the examples that I have and used during my interviews of accomplishments and achievements.
Is Zoom based in Texas? I thought it was maybe in California.
They're global.
It's not based in Texas, but it's a global company. And
so you could do it from home.
It's Zoom, Chan.
Yeah.
I know, but depending on
I think the position I think actually was posted for Austin.
Oh, good.
I'll have to go back and look at it, but
I think they do have regional. They have a lot of regional offices.
Probably need trainers wherever they are. So yeah.
Right. Well, this is for customer enablement, which is what my last role at IBM was. So I thought it would be, you know, a good fit. So I'm just going to try to network a little bit more as I get ready to apply to that position.
Good.
That's about all, though. I do, you know, I do have another recruiter. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me for contract work. So I do have my resume in for a couple different contract opportunities, but some of them, and I think you guys were the ones that told me to ask, you know, if it's a third party recruiter or if they're exclusive, because
Jeff mentioned that last week.
Yeah. And so a couple of them are third party recruiters. So I haven't heard back yet. You know, I follow up about every week, once a week. I mean, I'm not going to bug people, but I do keep in touch and follow up on those opportunities. So, because even if contract work comes available, I would take it just to get back in the market. And then if I need to look for full time.
Good. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Matthew, anything you'd like to share with us?
At the moment, I'm still just actively applying to about everything I can. I haven't had an interview in a little while. I did have some back in January, but I'm just reassessing my search and making sure everything stays updated and keep moving forward.
Again, if you need some help from either Chan or I on companies you're looking at that need contact that we may have some information on, you just let us know. And
okay.
If it's on
remember, triadcareernetwork@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'd be glad to share our alumni list and let you know who it would be. Just let us know.
All right, thank you.
Good. Okay, Jeff.
So we ready to shift gears?
I think we are.
You ready to go, Chan?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Ta-da!
There you go. Okay, before we go into that, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Mentioned, you looked at a job, you didn't think that compensation-wise it was a fit for you, and I think you did the right thing. And I go back and I think about all the times, that I was looking for a particular position, and I can remember when I left Firestone, I got an opportunity with Davey Tree, and got the salary offer, and I struggled with it. I'm really not unemployed yet. Firestone didn't release me until they were moving to Nashville, Tennessee. And so I knew my last day was going to be September, and this was in July. And I knew that I was looking hard.
Right.
It would have been easy to take that job. It would have been a big mistake. Based on Sealy and getting the job at Sealy, it was a big mistake. It was hard to say no. but it was the
Yeah.
right thing to do if you don't feel comfortable with it. And that's the most important thing. You've got to feel comfortable with it and go forward from there. But I'll just give you one example of me saying no to Davey Tree. It was hard for me to do.
Right.
But I did it and very, very glad that I did. So hang in there.
Okay, I will.
Braxton Walker, are you here?
Looks like he's on.
Pardon?
I don't
He's not
see
on
him.
today.
He's not on today.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to preach a little sermon.
Hallelujah.
Braxton Walker was going to interview with Sealy. I was vice president of human resources for Sealy. Asked him to send me a resume. Never got it. That was 7 days ago. If you get an inside contact in a company, use it. Find out a little bit about the company, but doggone it, use it. Never got the resume. I hope he had a good interview. Because I can't imagine anybody he's interviewing with, I don't know.
Yeah.
So my comment to you is have a plan, stick with it. Is it tough to send a resume to somebody who's going to make a call for you to the company? Good luck, Braxton.
Wow.
Enough for Braxton Walker. Tracy Wright, she sent us something, and John sends these out, but there was a lot of jobs on there: assistant contractor, construction site foreman, heavy equipment operator, construction laborers, and just a number of different jobs. I was interested in looking through some of that.
Yeah, that was the one that Kim had asked about.
It was, you ought to go through and yeah, definitely take a look at that. And then Teddy got something on accounts receivable specialist with the machine specialty company in Whitsett, North Carolina. Then Eddie Kim sent in that computer field service technician. And Eddie Kim, I got to be honest with you, Eddie, I've told many of you this before, but Eddie was the champ of interviews on site. He interviewed 5 times on video.
Tried to get it right.
Was never satisfied and always wanted to come back and interview again. And Tom Eaton and Steve Sheffy and myself interviewed him 5 times. And I only interviewed him, I think, once. Steve and Tom interviewed him the other times. But he was one that was never going to quit. But Eddie hasn't quit since he left Triad Career Network. I mean, he has sent in countless number of jobs. And it's good to see that. And so Eddie Kim sent in another one. So those are some of the ones I saw. Keep looking at John Markham sends those out, because sometimes there'll be something on there for you. On March 25th, Tom Eaton, I was talking to Tom the other day. Tom was an individual that works with us here at Triad Career Network, and he hasn't been on the Zoom calls, but he still does resumes, looks at resumes, makes recommendations. He was out for a walk. Fitness. When you're looking for a job, you still need to do those things. Tom was out for a walk and ran into an individual named Dave Evans. And Dave Evans is somebody that worked with me at Sealy. He was in marketing, but we hired Dave into marketing. Dave worked for Bristol Myers. He worked for Sarah Lee. He worked for Sealy. He's done his own consulting company for 5 years. He worked for Enmar, and he's now unemployed again because of COVID. He's going to come in and do a presentation on the 25th and talk a little bit about his background, some of the things he's done, gone into business for himself, had his own consulting firm. He's going to go through and talk with you about some of that and answer any questions you might have. I think you'll find it interesting. And his presentation will get you involved. It's not something that he just does. I've seen him do this before. And it's something where he's going to try to go out there and get you involved as well. So if you want to mark that down, that's for March 25th. And again, that his name is David Evans. And he knows Tom real well, Tom Eaton, and myself. We worked with him in the past. So he'll be doing that on the 25th. And with that, we're going to go back and look at my search for employment. And it's a survey that we went through and did. Last time we got through number 8, but I want to go back on number 1. I don't know if all of you were in that first presentation that we did, but I want you to think about some of these things. We're not going to spend a lot of time on 1 through 8, but my confidence level in my job search is, and if I ask Mark, what would you say?
Oh, it's on the higher level. I mean, before when I came in, I was thinking it was, medium. So I think I've got the right plan and process in place. So I feel much better than I did.
And you
before.
use the word plan, Mark, and that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Managing your campaign and managing your plan. There's a presentation on that. Hopefully you've looked through that and you've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
I would also, if somebody would ask me, what's his confidence level? I would have said high. You've got to try to do that on your own, but you got to keep that up. You have to keep reminding yourself, and it's not always easy.
Yeah, it's not.
You got to keep reminding yourself that I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make it happen. I've even turned down a job, but it wasn't right. I'm going to find that right position. And so if I went back and asked Lisa, what would Lisa say?
I'd probably say medium right now. I felt really good in January and mid-March, but it just seems like, I've gotten to so many final interviews and then came in second. So that's why I just think I need to regroup a little bit and maybe refine my examples that I'm using in my interview. And, I am still I feel very good about my networking piece where I'm finding jobs and trying to connect with people and having follow-up phone calls. It's just, because like I found a role within a company that I have some friends from IBM in, and I connected with them. And then I also connected with somebody that was a trainer for a course that I completed at IBM. And she's actually in a VP role for the organization. So I met with her over the phone, and some people are really helpful and other people, she was very nice and very, she accepted my resume and stuff, but she said, you really need to go through the recruiter. So she wasn't willing to help, and it's not that I know her that well. I just went through a 12-week training program with her. So I do know her to a point. So, I guess it's just, there's ups and downs in it. I'm just focused now on getting, refining my list again and refining my examples that I'm using as people ask the questions, and moving forward. That's all you can do.
Well, I think those are good comments, Lisa. And I do think it's kind of wave. It's like a wave. You have your ups and you have your downs, but you have to go back and you have to regroup. Hughes, where are you?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Well, I know you're here. On number 1, where's your confidence level on number 1?
Oh yes, I'm still high. I'm still high.
All right.
Yeah, trying to maintain my my composure, and I've had a lot of knocks and fall on my back and back up, and the only way is up. So I'm staying high, sir. Yes, sir.
Not how far you fall, it's how high you bounce.
Yes, exactly. How many times?
I want you to think about that.
Yes, sir.
But all of you, I think, are in a good position there, and you just got to keep striving.
Sure.
Matthew Brooks, I don't want you to feel left out.
Oh, thank you. I would say medium. I feel like I'm doing a lot of the right things with my job search. It's just like Lisa was saying, some of it doesn't. You feel like you're doing everything correctly, but it's not panning out the way you want it to. So you're just having to reapproach.
Okay, good. All right, good. You've been out of, how long have you been out of work, Matthew?
The end of September.
Okay, so you're
about 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Hughes, where are you?
Let me see. The 14th of this month will make it 22 months.
Okay. Okay. Now think about it. And you think about where he is mentally, you know, and where he is in his job search and how good he feels about what he's doing and trying to do. That's important. It's important that you keep that up. Lisa.
I've been out since September.
Okay, so you're about 6 months as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and Mark, how long you been out?
About 6 weeks.
Okay, good. All right, so you see there's a variation of where you are, but again, it's that attitude and trying to keep that confidence level high. The other thing I'm going to go back and say again, if you can get an internal contact in that company, do it.
Okay.
I think it's extremely important to try to have somebody in there that's going to try to help you out in finding that particular position where you want to work. I think it's important. Anybody accepted part-time employment while they've been out, temporary part-time employment? Anyone accepted it?
I have not at this point. I do have a couple things that where people have reached out to me for, you know, contract work, like instructional design work. And, you know, I consider it just to help extend my unemployment a little bit, but.
Well, sometimes you never know. Sometimes contract jobs can lead into full-time jobs. At IT,
Absolutely.
at Sealy, you can go to work full-time. Now, I didn't agree with this from an HR standpoint, but you didn't go to work for Sealy in a full-time job. You went contract, and it was usually for 6 months. If you worked out, you went full-time. If it didn't work out, you were gone. So you never
That's
can
what
tell.
a lot of Fortune, yeah, that's
Pardon?
what a lot of Fortune 500 companies do.
Yeah.
Because when I worked for Abbott Labs, I worked for them for 14 years, but I was hired on as a contractor for 30 days to make sure I was a good fit.
Right.
And then I was taken full time.
Okay.
So.
All right, so don't forget the temporary part-time or the contract work as you're going through and looking for things. Anybody in here has not drawn unemployment insurance?
I have not. Mark, this is Mark.
Okay, and Mark, you've been out, what did you say, 6 weeks?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're probably not, you haven't, I don't know how long it is before you can apply.
It depends if you've gotten, if you got a severance package from your organization.
Right.
Yeah.
You have
That's
to
what-
wait until the severance package, like when I got let go from IBM, I had 3 months. So when the 3 months was up, then I could apply for unemployment.
Right, but you got to get through the severance. I just didn't know if there was a waiting period of time before you could apply, but something you might think about as far as unemployment is concerned. Target companies, well, you better get this right. How many target companies use?
20 plus.
Okay.
He's been here long enough to know the right answer.
Yeah, you better. I'll tell you what. It's the reason I started with Hughes. Okay, Sarah, how many target companies? Sarah, how many target companies?
Who?
Think
She's
you
evidently lost us.
You meant Lisa?
Lisa. How many target companies?
I have like 25 target companies,
Okay, two
but
right
I
answers.
really target more 10 or 15 of them, but I have a couple that I've added to it because as I started out with my target companies, I've kind of refined it and then removed some, added some, but still networking within some of those.
Okay, Matthew, how many target companies?
I would say about a dozen with the ones I'm looking at. Yeah.
You understand you didn't get the right answer.
I do.
Okay, we're encouraging you to have at least 20 companies that you've looked at. And you're targeting those particular companies and doing all you can. And I hate to use the word networking, but I will. And you got to try to network through those particular organizations, find people in there that's going to try to help you. Look for companies also that have a program in place where they pay people if they refer someone and they get hired. And one I've always used at Sealy was the $1,500. You got somebody hired, you gave me an application, we hire them. You got $1,500 in 6 months. And then you got $1,000 after a year. And you got another $1,000 after 2 years. So
Wow, that was impressive.
yeah, some of those you'll find those companies out there, but you got to look. And boy, when you do, like I've told many of you before, I'm walking down the hallway and I see a hand out over in front of the door. I can't see the person. All I can see is the hand and this piece of paper. I knew what it was. It was a resume. So they were going to try to get someone hired. It's amazing what some of the people at Sealy made through that program outside of their annual salary. Amazing. And some of them really went after it. So think about that. If you see a company that has a program like that, try to take advantage of it. Recruiters, anybody working with a retained search company. That would be the company that's responsible for filling that job, and that's the only company.
They have the
exclusive right to it. Okay. Most of you probably working with contingent then. We talked about the following websites that you can get on and look at. We tried to list those.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Can I go back to recruiters for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead, Teddy.
Look, I mean, I get it. Most recruiters out there are in the contingent space. I really encourage you all to know who are the higher end recruiters that do retained search. Go seek out the recruiting executives or professionals, executive staffing. Go seek those folks out and strike up a conversation with them, because some of them you don't know what they're working on. And I've talked to retained recruiting professionals, and I know a bunch of them who are doing work in upper level project management, technology, managers, all kinds of spaces that with really cool companies. I mean, the really good companies, and I don't want to be too generic with this statement, but the really good companies hire retained search. And I know I'm being general that statement, but I want you just to think about the perspective of that. Jeff, back to you.
Yeah, think about what Teddy said. And again, a lot of it is networking, but it's amazing what you can find out by talking to some of these people that they know of different positions in companies and maybe in the areas that you're looking for. Teddy, I'm going to throw number 7 back to you on the websites, following websites.
You may know my answer to this. It's all about networking. So yeah, get on Indeed, get on that whole freaking list and build your profiles out there. Put your resume that clearly speaks to the job that the job, not a job, the job you want. Build your search list so that they send you those stupid emails that you go through every day and you delete because you don't find anything there you like. I get that. It is an opportunity to find a job. I use the word a, not the. So get on there and build those presences so you can be found, but spend the majority of your time doing step 8.
Good. We're going to go to number 8, and that's where we stopped. Is there anyone in here that doesn't have a formal network?
You talking about my drinking buddies, Jeff?
I knew I'd get help from you. I just somehow knew that, Teddy. How many people?
What do you mean by a formal network?
Well, you've got a network and it's written down and you stay in touch with those people. In other words, you let them know what you're doing and you let them know who you've interviewed with. You also tell them that, you're interested in positions if they know of anything to let you know, but you've got a list that you go through and work and let those people know where you are? How many people?
I do have a formal list. It's just, I guess my follow-up question to that is, how frequently do you know, because like some of the people are previous people I worked with at Abbott, and they were colleagues, and I did stuff personally and professionally with them. I might reach out once a year, but I mean, but I have followed up with them in this past 6 months, because to let them know I'm looking for new opportunities and to see what's out there, to see who they might be able to refer me to. But you know, now that I moved to a different part of the country and I'm in Central Texas and not North Texas, I've reached out, and I think more of my network is locally, like within my professional organization. So I volunteer in my professional organization, and that's expanded my network here locally, because I found, you know, I found that to be more beneficial than continuing to reach out to people I work with in Dallas, Fort Worth. They don't have a lot of connections down here.
Right.
So
Yeah, there's
Jeff,
a lot of reasons why that network would change.
yeah, can I add to that? I think bullet point number 8 needs to have another question on there. Do you have a network? How big is your network? How active are you with engaging with your network? Because it's one thing to have a network, but it's another thing to be nurturing the relationships of that network, so that when you do need assistance, you don't have to start all over again with rejuvenating your relationships with those folks to be able to get the kind of help you're looking for. So, you know, this is critical. And you know, the other thing too is, don't just call your network, email your network, LinkedIn message, Facebook message, Snapchat message your network and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Who do you know I need to talk with? You really should, you know, look for opportunities to strike up a conversation with specific people in your network who may know people or may know of companies that you need to talk with. It's a much different philosophy than, I got a network and now I'm going to start, you know, hammering on them, letting them know I'm looking for a job. This is a lot of work, but it, you know, it pays bigger dividends as if you're nurturing the relationships of these connections on a regular basis. And I get it, your regular basis right now is you're looking for a job, but you know, for Lisa, for you, I wouldn't worry about location, or, you know, I'd reach back into all of your L&D folks and, you know, strike up a conversation with them.
Well, and I have still been reaching out. I have a call this afternoon with somebody from my prior job at Abbott, and they're in the training organization. And so I have, and that all it was is a connection to catch up and, you know, reconnect. And that's what I try to do on a regular basis. And I think something that's important too is, besides being, when you're not in a job search, it's still important to do that and just have, you know, every once in a while call up and reconnect with somebody just to see where they are, how they're doing, or and let them know what you're doing. So if it's somebody that you know well enough, it's probably a good idea to do that instead of, you know, 10 years later, oh, now I'm out of work again, I need help, reconnecting with them.
No, I think that's a good comment. I think it's a good comment. I think it is important to stay in touch, but it's also, I think, important to let people know where you are as far as the job search is concerned. And the other thing is, I've actually had individuals that have gotten interviews with Sealy or Firestone or whatever the case may be. They never bothered to get back and tell me what they did, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. Let the people know. If there's people that are helping you get into an organization, make sure you go back and talk with them and tell them what the outcome was and that you appreciated their help. But I'm amazed at how many people don't do that. So look at that network. And how many would you say are in your network, Lisa?
Well, I mean, I'm connected to a lot of people on LinkedIn. So, I mean, that's in a pretty extensive network of like 3,000 people. But I mean, my local, you know, network is maybe 50, and, you know, Dallas, Fort Worth, I probably have another 40 or 50 that I really feel are more closer connections, not, not just random people that I've reached out
Right.
to and asked to connect
Right.
a conversation
I
with.
think your 50, the one that you targeted on 50, I think is closer to that, what we're looking for. Hughes, how many in your network?
Oh, I have over, if I count the LinkedIn, my LinkedIn network, I'm over 500. But personal network, among that, of course, I have people that I've worked with, people that I've, of course, friends with, people I've came across throughout my career. As a matter of fact, the position I'm looking into right now with JLL came across, started actually with one of my ex-direct report that I used to have 3 jobs ago.
Okay.
And so, and that's, it's been helpful, yes.
All right, Mark?
I probably keep in contact with about a dozen to 15 people in the finance area from either past folks or people who are still there in specific companies. Also, obviously, talk every other week. So with my recruiters that I've been working with for 10 years or more to help out as well. But that's I got about 400 some people, I guess, in my network, still growing that. So that's what I've got going on so far.
Okay, Matthew, how about you?
I would say I have 20, 25 people that I keep in touch with regularly and discuss my progress and, other associated things with it who are either in the same line of work I was in or who are in adjacent positions.
Okay, all right, good. Think about your network and think about think about this morning and think about the communications and how you communicate with them. The other thing that I'd encourage you to do that we talked about when we were up there looking at target companies, understand, how you can better look at those particular target companies. And one of the things that you might do, if there's somebody that you don't have an internal contact with, check with John or check with Chan about people that have gone through our program that are at those particular companies. We've talked about this before, but Lincoln Financial, I'm going to use that as an example. We've had 9 people that have actually gone to work for Lincoln Financial. And there's some good people in there that will do what they can to help you go to work for that particular organization. And again, they will do a lot to try to help you. And Jane White is one of them at Lincoln Financial. But if you contact us, we can try to tell you who's working at that particular company that you might contact that might help you have, get a foot in the door there. Okay, how many applications have you completed during your job search? Matthew?
Are we going all the way back to 6 months ago?
Yeah, we're going all the way back.
All the way back. Okay. I would say somewhere along the lines of 80 to 100.
Okay, and I want you to keep track as you're talking about this. Hughes, how many? How many, Hughes?
I'm sorry, I was distracted for a second.
You're not allowed to be distracted in here. You're not allowed to do
that. How many, what was the question again?
How many applications have you completed during your job search?
Oh, gee, over the 22 months period. Let's say, at one point, over the last, I would say, 17, 20 of the last 22 months, I was putting out at least 3 resumes out a day. So,
okay.
It gets, I can't even reach the number. I used to actually keep track of it on a spreadsheet. After a while, I just got distracted and don't do it anymore.
Lisa?
I'd say probably between 100 and 120. I do track them, but it's in a document that has, it's not just applications. I have applications and network, so it's a daily, like the job search. That's the other piece I think that's, to the administrative side of keeping track of all that is challenging. So I just have it set up more for my workforce search. And then I also use it to follow up on different opportunities, as I'm applying to things. I'm trying to scale back and not just randomly apply to things, but to really do more focused applications.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart thing to do.
Like I said, I found 2 roles this late yesterday, and one of them's with a company that I just networked with somebody in the company. I was referred to somebody and I networked with them. So I just saw this new opening. So I just sent a note to him this morning to see if he'd be willing to be a referral. So I haven't applied yet. So I'm trying to really not just randomly apply, but apply more focused, because that's where I seem to get the traction. Just randomly applying to stuff isn't getting me anywhere.
No, I think that's a very, very good comment. It's, again, some of the things that we stress and have stressed in the past is, would I rather be sitting there filling out application after application after application, knowing nobody in the company, just filling out an application? Or would I rather be trying to, got to use that word again, network, and go into that particular organization and company, find somebody there that I know, somebody that I can work with, and fill out the application when maybe somebody calls and has a job that you might be considered for. I'd much rather be doing that than just filling out applications all day. So I definitely.
Well, and some organizations, they do queries on the applications that are submitted based on internal and external referral. If they have enough candidates from internal referrals, they're not even going to look at you as an external applicant.
No, I'm going to go back, and somebody said, to your point, somebody said, well, that's a great program. If somebody's going to give me $1,500 after 6 months, they're going to give me $1,000 after a year and $1,000 after 2 years. They say it's just a great program. Yeah, that's a great program. But do you know how much I would have paid the recruiter for that same thing? I actually made money. So again, it's one of those situations that you got to look at, and you have to kind of decide what it is you want to do. But that networking inside is important. Mark, how many applications?
16.
Okay, because you just started how long ago?
6 weeks.
Okay. All right. See, did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody.
Excuse me, I'd like to run something by the group.
What was that?
I'd like to run something by the group and get your opinion on that. There's a local company, I wouldn't mind saying their name. Some of you may know about them, but some may not. It's called Environmental Air Systems. What they do, they fabricate, or let's say, for instance, if you want a special piece of equipment made, they would fabricate it to fit your specification, bring it to site, install it and everything. But anyway, so I knew people working in there. I've met with them over my previous work experience and so on. And later on, nobody told me that, but I'm thinking, because of negative vibes that I've received from that company, after having several interviews, and some of the interviews I've reached at least maybe to a third interview, where I believe they would be, come to fruition. And then I'm starting thinking that maybe one of my previous jobs may have worked against me. And it could be in my mind, and this is my story. When I worked with Guilford County School Systems, the gentleman who was on the job prior to me was laid off after maybe 16 plus years in the job because of some impropriety that he was caught doing. And this thing hit the news and everything. I did not know that until I actually replaced that person. And I actually learned about it through a contractor who actually told me about the story. But anyway, and later on, I'm thinking, when I'm applying with EAS, they call them, Environmental Air Systems, apparently there must have been some misunderstanding that I might have been that person who left, Guilford County Schools. And because the reason why I'm asking that question is because it got to a point where I actually applied for a position that I know I was overqualified for because I wanted to get in the company. And like I said, after 2-3 interviews, it gets to a point where we're getting ready to seal the deal, for instance, and we never actually reached that point. And so I'm wondering whether or not that experience and that my relationship with Guilford County School right after that other guy might have worked against me or something. I don't know. So what do you guys think?
I'm trying to think of how it would have worked against you. How would it have worked against you?
Well, because I'm thinking, since I just came on board right after this guy left the school system. And I'm thinking maybe it might have been misunderstood that, and since I left Guilford County Schools 3 years ago, maybe they might have thought that I was the guy, who had that past bad history with the school system. I don't know. That's what I'm guessing.
But isn't this an example, Jeff, of where you need to get somebody inside the organization where you're applying to find out from HR folks why they turned you down?
Yes, but yeah, and I've tried that. Some of the contacts that I've had, but of course, it's almost as if that nobody's talking.
Yeah.
They
don't want.
They're trying to what do you call it?
Hush it up.
Yeah, prevent me from, I guess, from having a bad experience. I don't know, but it got to a point. I've said to myself, what is the issue? I mean, I've talked with the hiring managers. They're excited. Oh yeah, you have a great background. I think you would fit well. It does exactly what we're trying to do. Blah blah blah. I'm waiting for a call for them for a week. Boom, everything gets called, and more than once. Yeah.
Well, it could happen, Hughes. I mean, I can't really say. Yeah, I think Chan's comment, you could try to talk with people and try to see if you can find out something as to why. And there are some organizations that will actually tell you. And there's other organizations you could ask from now until forever, and they would never tell you why.
I wish someone would tell me though. I would.
Yeah, I interviewed with Google and I asked for feedback, and they don't provide feedback.
You're going to find a lot of companies don't.
Yeah.
Because again, they don't want to do anything that might cause them some problems with litigation in the future if someone decides to file a particular claim. So, many times they won't. So again, it's something you just have to kind of go through and try to find out. And I don't think that's the case, Hughes. That's my feeling on it, just in working with you in the past and some of the things that, you've talked about before. I just don't think that would be the case, but
I could be wrong. Yes, of course.
You can always try to find out.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go back and you looked at how many interviews you've had face-to-face. I'm interested on this one, face-to-face. How many face-to-face interviews have you had?
Does
I've had
anybody
them through Zoom, but not, face-to-face through video.
I'm gonna count Zoom as face-to-face. Especially these days. Just to give other people an idea of how many interviews you've had. Lisa, how many?
I've probably had 20. I thought, that's where I felt good about getting the interviews and even moving forward in the interviews. It's just frustrating to not get an offer and to be in there so many different times. Somebody had just a little bit more experience related to that in piece than I did.
Right. So. No, and I definitely understand that. Mark?
I've had 4 Zoom and 1 actually face-to-face.
Woo.
Here's, I don't know how to say this correctly, but I felt when the Zoom ones that I went to, I felt real good about it. They were only half an hour with the hiring managers. And I'm thinking, my age might have something to do with it. But, it's hard to tell. And I don't know how to really deal with that. But I got a feeling there because the hiring managers were much younger. In
I
the
feel
role,
the same way.
you know, I think that's just reality, I guess. But I enjoyed the face-to-face was, I thought, much more interactive. That was the one last week. And I'm hoping that one can turn out to be something, beneficial for me. So, and then I've had, two, first round screen interviews, the last week. And then the one obviously that didn't work out with, the compensation ranges.
Okay, Matthew, how many?
I've had 6 interviews and about 3 or 4 pre-screenings to discuss positions that the company has.
Okay, give you an idea of how many, different interviews people have had. The other thing that I would encourage you to look at, and John and Chan can help you with this, but if you haven't gone through and looked at that preparing for the interview, I really encourage you to do it. They can send you a copy of it. There's, I'll let John talk about this because he'll nail me on the 53rd question, but why don't you tell them a little bit about that, John?
Well, we talked about this before. We have the spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet has 53 questions, 52 of which Jeff has answered. 53rd has gone unanswered for a couple of years now. So and the reason for that is it wasn't Jeff's original question. It was added on later, and Jeff apparently, I'm not gonna go there. Anyway, I think it'd be around general questions. It has the question. It has Jeff's thoughts as how to answer. Then it has another column is what your thoughts ought to be. Now, if you don't have it, just ask for it. And then any of these presentations that Jeff's talking about, Shannon or I have those as PDF versions. We'd be glad to forward those to you.
Just to be aware of it, it's there. It's something I encourage you to look at. It's amazing in the interview when you're asked some of these questions. You'll see that when you go through and look at the 50-some questions, you're going to see questions you've already had. But you also may see some questions on there you haven't had, and gives you something to think about. How would you answer that particular question if I was asked?
And the good thing about that spreadsheet is that once you answer the question in writing in that third column, you will have at least thought about your response, and it won't be the very first time you've heard about it. And you won't memorize 53 questions worth of answers, but you will at least give it some thought and have some idea of where you need to go and what would be a good response. So that's the main advantage, is giving you some edge on someone who's never heard the question before, first of all, and who's not thought about it. And you will have at least thought about it and be able to give hopefully a response that's what they're looking for.
So again, I encourage you to look at it, because it's amazing the different things that you'll see. And you may think about, well, I answered that question this way, but maybe I should have gone this way. We talked to Inez Elliott, who did an interview with Steve and our new vice president of human resources, a guy named Burriss.
It would be Mr. Burriss, sir.
Yeah, Professor Burriss.
Mr. Burriss. She did an interview, and again, one of the things that she mentioned, one of the questions she was asked was, she went back and talked about some of the different friction that was involved as far as the department is concerned, and she gave some things that there was no reason to give, as far as being negative with regards to the company. And again, it causes people concern, especially when it happens 2 or 3 times with the company. And I think Inez agreed with that at the end. We had a good conversation as far as her interview is concerned. And I think you got to go back and think about the questions and how would you answer them. So I encourage you to do that. Have you practiced interviewed on video with Triad Career Network? How many people haven't done the video with Triad Career Network?
I don't know. I did a mock interview. Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
Over Zoom. Yeah.
Over Zoom.
Yeah, I did.
This
Okay.
particular question was written before we got on the Zoom.
Right. No, that's good.
It was a service that we offered face to face
Okay.
at First Pres.
Matthew, you done a Zoom interview?
I haven't done a Zoom interview with TCN.
He's going to write your name down as the next
You're gonna be
next likely suspect.
You're gonna be a candidate, I'll tell you. How about Mark? Mark?
I have not either.
Oh, now I got two of them. Let's see. Hughes, you have, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
I thought you did, and Lisa did. So we got two new candidates I can think about in the weeks ahead here is Matthew Brooks and Mark Andishoot. We'll make sure we keep you two in mind for the video interview.
That's another incentive to get a job quickly.
Yeah.
How many hours a day are you devoting to your search? Okay, I'm going to start with Matthew. Boy, this better be good.
How
And
many
I want
hours?
an honest answer.
1 to 1.5.
Oh, Lordy.
Okay. Well, I want to make sure I got this right. Is that Matthew?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Well, hey,
An hour-
Jeff, can we ask Matthew, what does he do the rest of the day?
Yeah.
Hey, Matthew, what do you do the rest of the day?
A bunch of different stuff. No, that's I would say, and then on some days, some days I'm working on applications and everything a little bit longer, but I would say that's averages out to about 1 to 2 hours a day as I go
Okay.
through.
Okay. Let's go to Mark. How many hours a day?
6 hours.
Okay. All right. You're going through and you're working 6 hours a day, and it may be a lot of different things: networking, filling out applications,
Yeah.
Visiting job sites.
Right. Yeah. I spend a lot of time, in the research mode, and then, obviously, Indeed and LinkedIn and networking. So the whole 9 yards. It also depends on, where the opportunities are out there too. But you do spend a lot of time with, the application process.
Yeah.
No
doubt about
going
it.
directly to the websites.
Okay, Hughes.
About say between 4 to 6 hours a day.
Okay,
Yeah.
4 to 6.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Lisa.
I'd say 6 to 7. I get up every day the same time, and usually, if I know I have Zoom interviews with people, then I'll get dressed appropriately for an interview. But I spend the day, every once in a while, if I have to, I might take a little bit longer at lunch, but I generally work the day searching, either researching, applying to jobs, networking calls. Some weeks it's like, you're networked out, and I'm a huge people person, but it's still, exhausting talking to people all the time and going through that whole process.
Well, it's a lot of different things going on in that time period. And I got to tell you, 8 hours. I spend at least 8 hours a day. A lot of that comes back to personality.
Yeah.
Being without a job is something I will never, ever forget. Either will my wife ever forget. It is something.
It's a full-time job looking for a job. So
That it is. That's right.
that's why I get up and start my day, and my focus, I say 6 to 7, but I do have it scheduled for the 8 hours, but every once in a while there's little things that come up.
Sure.
And you need a break from it too,
You do.
because it makes you crazy after a while.
Good comment. And it's amazing the different things you can do. And the other thing I encourage you to do is think about that the day before. Think about the day before of what you want to accomplish. One of the things that I always try to do is the night before I'd write them down. If I write them down, they're going to get done. Because I got to go back and look at that list again. So it's one of those things that you might think about. Lunch with, you know, in the networking part of it, of who you might meet as far as lunch is concerned. It's amazing the companies I visited. And so, you know, again, trying to find people that can help you in that overall search.
And Jeff, in regards to what I heard some say, and Lisa just recently said it, that it's overwhelming and sometimes you need a break from it. You got to mix up your steps. You can't do the same, what's the word, mundane execution over and over again. You know, search, apply, search, write a new resume, apply, search, write. You got to mix this up. And so, you know, you got to look at, you know, what are the actions that you should be doing, and maybe Monday, I do my review of what's all that stuff, Indeed, Monster, Career Builders, and Ladders, and apply for jobs. Maybe Tuesday, you do networking conversations. So you call 5 people you haven't talked to in a month or 2 months. Maybe Wednesday, you get on LinkedIn or wherever, and you do research. And then Thursday, you get all dressed up so you look good. So you show up for Jeff's event at 9 o'clock and you participate till 10:30. And you take a break, and then Thursday afternoon, you go do research on new roles and new companies. You got to, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, it becomes drudgery, and drudgery does not create success. You got to mix this up. Jeff?
No, I think it's a good comment, Eddie. And I think you do have to mix it up. And I think it's important that you think about it the day before, the week before. What is it you're going to accomplish on this day, and then do it. I think those are the things that.
Well, I do mix mine up. I generally too. I don't cold call people, so I'm scheduling. You know, every week I'm scheduling network calls, and you usually don't get somebody that's available that same afternoon or the next day. So you're really scheduling things for the following week or a couple days out. So.
Okay, I got to go back to Matthew. I got to get that up from an hour, Matthew.
Okay.
So next week, I'm going to ask you the question, how many hours this week have you used as far as a job search? I'm just telling you ahead of time.
Okay.
All right.
If
During unemployment, have you visited library, chamber of commerce, recruiting agencies, job fairs? How many have gone to job fairs?
They still have them?
Yeah.
They have virtual.
I don't know of
ones now.
any.
They have virtual ones. I haven't found the job fairs to be very helpful.
Okay.
I've connected with recruiters, but and followed up on a few things, but I just haven't really gotten a lot of success out of that. So, but I have attended them.
Okay. How many people are using a recruiter?
I am.
I have a couple recruiters that I work with, but
Good.
you know,
I think when you
I
said-
follow up with them every so often.
Yeah,
you know,
you said a
because-
couple. You said a couple, Lisa, and I think that's good. I think that you're not just working with one contingency recruiting agency.
No,
you're
because
working
they
with
all
numbers.
have different opportunities, and some are exclusive with a company,
Right.
and some are third-party recruiters. But I find it's helpful to still keep in touch with them, and they can give you some feedback on, is the market picking up a little, or what they're seeing in the market too.
Right.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Somebody else was
No, I think that's.
responding.
I think that's good. So again, look at those different, sometimes the Chamber of Commerce can help you. It's amazing how many people I've talked to, and I myself use the Chamber of Commerce. When I actually went out to the office, talked with some of the people, it's amazing the leads they give you once they get an opportunity to talk with you, see what you're interested in. And it is amazing sometimes what you can find out from the Chamber with regards to jobs.
Who from the Chamber of Commerce would you reach out to?
Pardon?
Who in the Chamber of Commerce? The reason I ask is I actually had a job interview with the Chamber of Commerce.
Mhm.
And it was very disappointing because I had 3 interviews and got to the final round and then never heard back from them, followed up twice.
Yeah.
And after that, that was a turnoff to me. That's not an organization I want to work for if that's the way you treat people.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about the Chamber, Lisa, to get a job with them. I'm talking about using the
Right.
Chamber in your network to try to find out what are some of the other jobs in the area.
To research companies.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
Right,
And they
that's why I
work-
was asking who maybe, within the
Here, if I
chamber.
can share a couple ideas, because I love the chambers for the value they provide me. Here's a couple ideas to consider. Number one, find out who the economic development guy is. Find out who the workforce development guy, and I'm using that term in a generic way, guy or gal is. Number three, find out what the networking groups are that at the chambers, because you can go visit the networking groups and you can meet people who are playing in the sandboxes you may want to play in. Meet
Right.
people who know other people. So, and all these are virtual, by the way. I used to go to a lot of them. I don't go to as many anymore, and that might be a mistake, but ECDev, workforce development, you can look for, what's the other one? There's another one where they're, I can't remember the name, where they try to bring companies in.
Right.
NC Work.
What is
Good
it?
one, Ted. It's a good one, Teddy.
NC Works.
Well, an NC Works is a whole nother arm. But this is not about asking for a job. This is about research and meeting
Right,
people.
right.
Right. That can be very, very helpful to you because they're aware of companies coming into the area. They're aware of different companies even leaving the area. But it's amazing the information you can get from the Chamber of Commerce if you get in there and talk with some people that know a lot about the community and can help you out. So again, I encourage you to look at those particular items and see what you can do as far as getting a conversation with somebody that's there.
By the way, I planted some seeds with the Amazon site on Kernersville. That site is not open yet, are they?
I don't know. Teddy?
Ask it again, Hughes. What was it?
I've said I planted some seeds with the Amazon sites coming in the Kernersville area.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if they have, opened or started functioning or anything like that.
If it's in Kernersville, I'd go to the Kernersville Chamber and ask and ask them.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, let's go to 15, and that's, do you believe you have experienced job discrimination in your search for new employment? And I think we already heard from somebody here this morning and said they did, and I think that was Mark.
Yeah, that's just my
That
own.
gray hair, it's that gray hair over there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already clean shaven, doing all that.
That's why I try to make sure I color my hair before interviews to make sure, because I believe that too. I'm later in my career, and there's a lot of, when you're interviewing with somebody that's in their 30s or 35, that 30 to 40, whatever, I do think there is some discrimination in there, but you just have to move past that because somebody's going to want your experience.
Yeah.
And your work ethic, because our work ethic is definitely different too than the millennial group. So.
Right. So
Mark?
I think go ahead.
Mark,
Yes.
this is John. Sorry, I was
Hey, John.
away for a bit, but coming in on the job discrimination part of it, I am now 63 years old and I got my job at 61. So it can happen. It's how you sell yourself,
Right.
and your experiences along the way. Even you don't have to necessarily sell yourself to the young folks, but it's a nice combination of being able to sell who you are and your experiences, and you got to be honest with what the future brings. And it's part of selling yourself is, what are your expectations of employment? They can't talk about age, but you can certainly talk about what you foresee coming your way and how you would benefit the company moving forward. And that's what caught the company that I'm currently working for when I interviewed with those guys. And I interviewed a broad range of folks. I had 4 different interviews along the way. All of them, of course, were remote because the company's based out of the UK. But it can happen, and it will.
Yeah, it's good comment, John. You're gonna face it.
Yeah.
And it all depends on the interviewer. You go back to the interviewer, and that's a lot of times where where it happens. Somebody will walk in and they say, well, the guy was 30 years old and I'm 54 and there's no way that he's going to give me the job. You get ideas about that, but you do face that, and you face what ideas that people have of who they want to hire, and you're going to face that type of situation. And I did from a human resources standpoint. We have affirmative action plans. They have to understand that. They have to understand what's involved in affirmative action. They have to try to make sure that they don't do anything that's discriminatory as far as the hiring process is concerned. But I got to be honest with you. Everybody has different ideas and you're going to face it. You just have to do the best you can in that particular interview. And that's the other thing I'm going to come back on here. If Chan goes back to that preparing for the interview, and I think that is on 11. One of the things I want you to think about is in the interview itself, if there are different things that you can do to reinforce what you've told the interviewer, think about what can I use to do that? One example, appraisals. There are some people that have outstanding appraisals. Now, I'm going to say this in 40 years in human resources. It's amazing the references I've done. It's amazing what I found out about the person's performance appraisal. I never used it. When I talk to somebody about performance, if you've got a fantastic performance appraisal, have a copy of it. Utilize it during the interview. Talk about your performance and how you were rated. And by the way, I want to leave you with a copy of my most recent appraisal from this particular company.
I did.
Use it.
Yep.
It's your advantage. The other one I'm going to ask you about is awards. We had a chairman's award. We had a chairman's award that we gave to somebody at Sealy. $20,000 from the chairman. And the guy left, after he left Sealy, I was working with him trying to help him get a job. I asked him about the interview. Did you mention the chairman's award? No. Why wouldn't you mention a $20,000 chairman's award that you got from the company with the letter that he got from the chairman, which told him about the $20,000? What the crap? Why wouldn't you use it? Letters of recommendation. If you've got, I don't know how many letters of recommendation that you've got, but if you've got some good letters of recommendation, take them with you. I'm not saying use them all, but if a subject comes up and that individual's name is used, because I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I'm coming after every one of your supervisors. I want the names of every supervisor you work for the last 2 or 3 companies, because I'm going to talk to them. So if you've got some recommendations, use them. If you've got some written recommendations, emails, complimentary interviews, use them if the opportunity arises. Newsletters. One individual was employee of the month. He was in the newsletter. Did you use it? No. How bad do you really want a job? So again, I want you to think about some of those things.
What was that last question, Jeff?
Newsletters.
No, the last question that you threw in there. How bad do you really want a job?
Right.
We don't have that one on the written schedule here.
Think about what you can use as reinforcement from somebody else. It's okay for you to talk about your performance. That's great. But what I like in an interview is when somebody else is going to show me this is what the individual thinks about my performance on the job. And it's a written statement. How many have a copy of your last performance appraisal?
I have all mine. I've kept copies. I used that when I was writing my resume. I made sure to include pieces, where I got spot awards and acknowledged for different things.
And you may
have
not
that in my
know,
notes.
you may not know, Lisa, whether you can use each one of these things in an interview. All I'm saying is have them in that binder that you take with you. And if the opportunity arises that you can use it and it's a reinforcement for what you've told them about your performance, use it. Just things to think about.
Don't forget to have them available when you do your mock interview too.
No, it is. It is.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Because I had mine.
John knows. So again,
Hey,
it's
Jeff, we're bumping up against 10:30 now.
okay.
All
right.
Anything else you'd like to add before we try to close out the group?
No, you can go ahead and then we'll get back on it on 16.
Okay. Glenn, good morning. Anything you'd like to share with us? Always.
Well, I tell you what, I learned from this group. As Jeff goes through this stuff, I'm just soaking it up. I'll be honest with you. Good stuff, Jeff.
Thank you.
I would say that we have gone to the night session next Tuesday night at 7:30. Moving on up is designed for unemployed and unhappily employed people. For those that are still working, if you know somebody would like to change a job and know how to do it seamlessly without losing your current job, check in with us. So anyway, thank you, John. And I'm telling you what, the Triad is lucky to have folks like this. So thanks a lot, John. Y'all have a terrific week. See you on Moving On Up.
Okay, we'll do this. Thank you, Glenn. We'll do this again next week, and we're gonna have a great week, and we'll look forward to some hopefully good news.
Bring donuts.